Can a movie kill you? This one almost. Well, let's just say I had no idea where it would take me. As I began watching Madame Web, it seemed to lead into the heart of an immense darkness. It's utterly terrifying. The first thing I see, it's a message. It says, the 1973 Peruvian Amazon. Well, it's a special kind of message. Before I finish my thoughts, something incredible happens. I see a spiderweb bespeckled with fat drops of water, perhaps from fresh rainfall, or thick dew from the sultry Amazon climate. Then, oh God, so soon. This is absolutely sinister. The spider is conspicuously missing. It's the biggest clue to the entire movie. The key piece of the crime is right here, literally in the opening shot. The audacity. The arrogance of these criminals is like nothing I've ever witnessed in my entire career. And just like many times in my life, a lady steps in focus to fill the void. I never said I wasn't a simple guy. This young scientist is as fascinated with the spider web as I am with the messy webs that make up a human life, or a terrible, terrible crime. Suddenly a man appears behind her, opening a red umbrella. I think it was supposed to be a jump scare, but, better not say that out loud yet. Interesting. Very interesting. If only I knew what was to come next. Nothing could have prepared me for what was about to happen. Watch closely, if you dare.
Do you think we're close?
Did you feel it? The world just changed forever. There was life before this man opened his mouth, and life after it. I have rewatched this moment more than any other moment in my entire life. For it is an apocalypse. It reveals everything that is to come. But right now, in the moment, I couldn't believe it. Understand it? It will take the rest of my life to understand this moment. Something happens here that changes the course of the entire movie, changes the course of human history. What this man says, and what his mouth actually says, are two entirely different things. A fool would think this is a clumsy sound error, a mere mistake forced upon the movie by studio reshoots, a foolish lapse committed by a bunch of harlequins who ran out of time and couldn't do reshoots the right way. People who think like that live in a very simple world. They have no idea what is to come, and to be honest, I thought I'd seen it all. But I too had no idea what was about to happen. Turns out, he's only offered to come along and protect her based on the fact that she will find him a spider. She gives him a sassy speech on science and the benefits of the spiders, all the lives they might save. He's had enough of being lectured for one day. So after offering to protect her, he leaves her alone with a red umbrella. What a charming guy. But then we see why. It's because he's got a bunch of nefarious deeds to do before the sun sets. He sneaks around and takes pictures of her research. And as luck would have it, she's found the spider, brings it back in a jar. My luck, though. My luck was about to change. Forever. As she's celebrating, the man shoots the two other men from the camp and demands she hand over the spider. Of course she refuses. A struggle ensues. We all know how this is going to go. She gets shot. The trees shake. What could be above them? This guy doesn't want to find out. He flees through the jungle, leaving the pregnant woman to perish. Just to be safe. I wait. I blink. Rub my eyes. Again, the arrogance. I can't believe they thought they could get away with something like this. Most people would have missed it because of some slick Hollywood sleight of hand. But not me. I've seen this type of thing before. But this crowd? Oh, they do it differently. They do it so brazenly. But they messed up. I saw it all. I'm going to make sure it comes back to bite them in the ass. A man, or group of men, in what appears to be a strange vined costume, jumps down and grabs her, then rushes her back through the Amazon to a blue lagoon. I'm stunned again. Will the mother be saved? Will the baby be saved? One of those rare spiders bites the pregnant, dying scientist, and the baby is born. The spider shaman makes a promise that when the child returns, he will be here with answers to her questions. I have so many questions, even now, even to this day, but I didn't have time to ask them because of what comes next. What comes next is one of the most depraved scenes in all of cinema. If you want to skip this part, I won't blame you, not one bit. But for those of you who are brave or just simply disturbed, here's a chance to test your mettle, see if you have what it takes to last in the darkness. The mother desperately tries to touch her newborn child for the first time, but alas, she passes in the lagoon, deep in the Amazon jungle. I'll never unsee it. These people are sick and twisted. The dying mother's hand did not touch her newborn baby one last time. This is a new level of cruelty. They relished that moment. They did a close-up. They took their sweet time with it, lingered on it, held the camera steady for it. I'm dealing with some next-level perverts here. I'm talking John Doe from Seven. I'm talking Jigsaw from Saw levels. And to think, I wore my white silk suit for all this. Tried to keep cool. I locked the door. It's either me or them. One of us isn't coming out alive. They know I'm serious. They know they've got to change it up on me. So they flee. They run 30 years away, but it's not enough to throw me off the trail. I'm right on their heels. An ambulance driver rushes through traffic. A total moron tries to pull out in front of her, and I'm sure we're going to see an accident in Spider-Man, only she slams her brakes and narrowly avoids the collision. Who tries to pull out in front of a speeding ambulance with its sirens on in broad daylight? My rage is soothed at the sight of a Blockbuster video store. A wave of warm nostalgia floods through my veins. Nostalgia. It's like a whole bag of morphine squeezed right into your arm, and you don't even have to go to the hospital for it. Or the Peruvian Amazon. Blockbuster video. Yeah, those were the good old days. Wait a second. Is this guy supposed to be doing CPR on this person with one hand? And are they having a sassy, flirtatious conversation while careening through the summer city streets full of cars and pedestrians?
Ben, what are you even doing back there?
Oh, you want to come take over? I can drive.
So much for nostalgia.
He's not going room temp on my watch.
Something starts tingling, and it ain't my spidey senses. Suddenly, a skateboarding prep schooler stops in front of her after landing a basic ollie, not even a kickflip or ollie impossible. And then she flips them off.
Who flips off an ambulance?
The upper classes, drunk on their privilege. That's who. They make it to the hospital, and it's time for a snack. I can't even think of eating after the horrors I've already seen, and nothing could prepare me for what came next. A child offers a duo an illustration as a gift, and that's when all hell breaks loose. For what is revealed, what comes next, is something you can't say aloud anywhere on planet Earth. Not even books from the most radical authored are permitted to write this kind of thing, even in today's age where men and women imagine themselves as free, able to speak shocking truths and hear shocking ideas. Now, most people will just pass this off as a throwaway scene where an unlikable protagonist creates an awkward moment with someone all normal people adore, a child. Oh, how I wish. How I wish it was that simple and not one of the most shocking scenes in the entire movie. Hiding in plain sight is one of the darkest truths anyone can ever learn. Cassie does the modern, awkward girl thing of not knowing how to accept affection. Now, you'll hear a lot of people who don't live in LA talk about how this is bad acting or how this is great acting because EMTs have to be stone cold to deal with the horrors they face every shift. But Dakota Johnson isn't acting here. She's revealing 3 truths. First, this is just how LA girls are. They create tension and awkwardness because it makes their prey nervous. Second, this is just how LA girls talk. Unfeeling. Why are they so unfeeling? Well, just remember, you asked to know this. And here's the third truth, a vicious one, the worst you'll ever hear. The women in LA know how the world really works. They know the true nature of existence. They didn't even need to read Nietzsche or Thrasymachus or Plato's Gorgias to understand it all. The real world is a brutal state of nature, a dark war of all against all. Everything else is just advertising. And so the person you call a friend and a company to Erewhon to buy a lavender latte with collagen peptides, bee pollen, and butterfly milk is actually someone who you will have to stab in the back and eat her beating heart to get a small role in a terrible TV series, or sleep with her dirty executive producer boyfriend to pay the rent and stay in the game just for 1 month longer. With your life on the line every day and holding the lives of others in your hands every day, you don't have time for romantic notions like friendship, family, and true love. At some point, you will have to kill everyone you have come into contact with in this city or betray them in the most despicable way imaginable. You can't have feelings and survive in this kind of environment. So when a child offers you an adorable crayon illustration of a family, you have to wonder who put them up to it. Someone trying to mess with you, mocking the family that you never had, or the family that you will never have because you have decided to try and make it in this town. Do you sell the child to an aging starlet in the hills to pay for your next surgery? Do you just ignore it, play it cool, and see if you can draw out the person trying to sabotage your career? All of this is going through Dakota Johnson's mind. I call this the real Hollywood accounting. Now go ahead, go back into the world knowing that every person you meet, and even more importantly, the few you want to form a genuine, lasting bond with, will only end up one of 2 ways. Either you kill them, or they kill you. It took Marlowe from the heart of darkness, months of travel deep within the Congo, to ruin his views of civilization. This movie has done it in under 10 minutes. Tell me, do you still feel safe? Do you think you're still just watching a movie? Oh, but it gets so much darker from here. In hindsight, I could never have been ready for what was about to happen to me. It started off innocent enough. Over some Chinese food, Ben breaks it to Cassie that he's found someone. It's serious. Hold on a second. I know a deleted and reshot scene when I see one. If you put together the flirtatious conversation from the ambulance ride with the tension in this scene, it's obvious. This movie was supposed to have an R rating, so these two could have a few hot, fleshy scenes in the ambulance and in the morgue depicting a toxic romance destined to crash and burn. You know, even get in some clever allusions to 50 Shades of Grey, Britney Spears' song Toxic, or some Lady Gaga song.
Oh, you want to come take over?
Yes.
And this was supposed to be the awkward breakup scene. Hey, looks like Madam Web isn't the only one that can have visions. But here's what gets me. This is just the sort of desecration these guys love. No way they could resist it. After what they did with the baby, I know their depravity has no limits. They would love to destroy Uncle Ben, shock the audience. They would go down in history as the gang that took out Uncle Ben. That's criminal immortality. So why isn't it here? For just a moment, something dark slithers across my mind. So dark I dare not mention it. They decide to open the fortune cookies and see their future. Only hers is smudged. I'm in total shock. Not because hers is smudged. Oh no, this is huge. These people are really going for it. Uncle Ben tries to cover for her, tries to sweep this moment of utter insanity under the rug, but I've already seen it. I'll see it for the rest of my life, in my nightmares. If I had any innocence left, any at all, this scene just took it from me. The only thing it leaves me with is a question. Should I really continue? My only hope is that there's an answer at the end of this cigarette. As it burns down to my fingertips, I realize I've failed. There is no hope here. Just when I think I should turn this abomination off and save a little bit is left of me, it speaks to me. A serene shot. The wet pavement after a storm clashes with the neon light of the shop signs at dusk. It soothes me. It excites me, all at once. Why do I linger here, gazing at the lights like a bum stoned out of his mind on the sidewalk in Hollywood? Shouldn't I be chasing after the ghouls of this abomination who no doubt have already set a trap for me in the moments to come? Yes. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I've learned that you have to hit pause every now and then, especially for these kinds of moments. It's when a villain messes up and does something you have to admire. Normally the petty thugs that create these things today rely on nostalgia to create any bit of stimulation, but this, it's better than nostalgia. It's genuine euphoria. It's stimulation happening in real time because of something new, not something old that depends upon the heroic labors of the past. The phrase real time is something that only a society that has been hopelessly trapped in the sarcophagus of history, desperately lusting after prequels and alternate histories could create. But just like my cigarette, my euphoria is short-lived. Next they hit me with something so absurd I nearly have to turn the whole thing off and walk away. Maybe they win after all. Maybe I can't keep up with this kind of perversity anymore. Maybe it's me who is arrogant to think I could go toe-to-toe with this new type of vile criminal. Anyways, Cassie goes to an apartment with a foyer in New York City on an EMT salary. Now look, I get lied to. A lot. The lowlifes I deal with every day, all they do is lie to me. And to be honest, most of them aren't believable either, but at least they try. But this is the apartment of a millionaire's daughter, not a struggling EMT living paycheck to paycheck. So I do what I do best. I start looking around. I start examining. I start thinking. And then I start to realize something deeply troubling. No, this is absolutely insane. If they're able to get away with this, then we will have entered a new era of crime. And then they do the unthinkable. Right to my face. They bluff. They pretend they aren't afraid. They show me Cassie's got a nice meal planned. Her and the cat.
Us strays need to stick together.
She goes back to her room and looks at a notebook. It's the scientists. This is her daughter, but I don't buy it. The innocence of it all. That she's a wholesome girl and that a genuine superhero movie is going to be woven out of this web. No, I don't believe it for a second. The pace picks up again. They know I'm onto something. The editing pace is neurotic. It won't stand still. It's literally bouncing off the walls. They give up, run to the next scene. But they can't shake me. I'm right behind them. But I have to admit, I'm more scared than ever. It's a new day, a new accident. Some schmuck is trapped on the bridge. They go to pull him out of the car, and Cassie gets trapped in it and falls into the river. She sees a web. A strange voice calls out to her, muffled and yet somehow immediate. Tells her that she can be in more than one place at the same time. It's the web. She's the only one who can change the future. When she comes to, it's just Cassie and her faithful EMT partner, Ben. I tried desperately to stop and take notes here for the totally maddening thing that just happened, but something nearly overpowers me. It's as if something altogether monstrous, intolerable to thought, and odious to the soul had been thrust upon me unexpectedly. By the time I'm able to recover and gather myself, they jump again. I've never seen anything move this fast. This is a step forward for the criminal element, a turning point, a watershed moment. Crime has changed. Crime has evolved. How can I keep up this pace? What if I can't see things fast enough anymore? More and more dark questions and thoughts begin to flood my head. I'm slowing down. I have to admit it. And so I have to ask, Am I really up to this? Finally, I catch up. Or are they just waiting for me? Laying a new trap for the old, slow gumshoe who just doesn't know when to quit. Well, this time they're above the bridge. Ben is taking Cassie's vitals. He tells her she needs to see a doctor. I don't need all the doctors in the hospital to put me back together after this one. That's if I manage to make it out alive. Just then, she glitches, he glitches, the multiverse glitches, the Spiderverse glitches. That is to say, he repeats what he's already said to her. And then, perhaps the most horrifying thought of my entire life happens. They're going to tell me everything twice now? Is that a special way to make me relive every last painful moment of this movie? It's sadistic, it's arrogant, it's genius, criminal genius. Imagine making someone watch the same terrible movie twice, but within the same terrible movie. Is it even possible with our simple notions of time? It shreds all concepts of time and linearity. They'll talk about this at the Sorbonne for the next 200 years. But most importantly, it creates a new level of agony. A new circle of hell has opened up, and I'm the first guest. We finally catch up to the Rainforest Raider. He's doing well. He's in a tux at the opera. He picks up the chick, takes her back to his swanky apartment. He bangs her. He's got it all, including the Peruvian magical spider. He's even got dreams of 3 chicks dressed up like Spider-Man heroes who kick him out of a window and steal his beloved spider.
Oh, wow, that's a buzzkill.
Or a really kinky dream. But he doesn't think it's a dream. Says he'll be murdered one day. Every night he has this nightmare. It's the same 3 faces. This is a lot to tell someone on a first date. But this wasn't a date. It was a trap. He poisons her for a password to some top secret tech that the NSA has been working on. Super surveillance technology that they can find people based on what their faces look like. He commits murder, but there's an even worse crime going on. Their arrogance has caught up to them already. The first time they did it, they caught me totally by surprise. And now they're just showing off. Doing it over and over and over again. I've called it out, but I don't understand it. How could I? This guy's mouth never matches what he says. Never. Every time he speaks, it sounds like it's dubbed over. Would anyone go home with a guy whose mouth doesn't match what he says? Yeah, I don't think so either. But then I think about it a little longer. Think about where this whole thing might be going. What it's really trying to say to me. What it's really trying to tell the world. Killers are weird like this. They get lost in strange symbolism that no one can understand. Speaking a different language entirely, but with the same runes everyone else uses. It's part of what drives them insane. Yeah. I better be careful here. I can feel it. There's a deeper, more perverse message pulsating just below the surface, yearning to be exhumed but gleefully hiding below in the cold soil and shadows, creating havoc, sabotaging everything. In my line of work, the worst thing you can do is take something at face value. The worst thing you can do is underestimate someone. That's how you end up in trouble. That's how you end up ice cold downtown. From another point of view, everyone always goes home with a guy whose mouth doesn't match what he says. From another point of view, no one's mouth matches what they say. Humanity. Just a bunch of rotten liars. That's what they want to tell me. And you know what? At least on this count, they're right. See, even killers can be sublime. After her near-death experience, Ben invites Cassie to a barbecue baby shower. Based on how this show's going, yes, I definitely expect them to barbecue the baby. But it's a trick. They just want us to get to know Cassie better. Spend some quality time with her and the nice ladies gathered here.
Must have at least one fond memory of your mother.
Well, my mother actually died in childbirth.
The party glitches. I want to believe, just like Scully, I want to believe it glitches because saying something that offensive and absurd in a situation literally fries the simulation we are living in, literally breaks technology created by beings who live in a 5th dimension and who are capable of designing entire universes from blades of grass all the way down to infinitely small strings that make up the fabric of reality. But in spite of all their advanced technology, they couldn't account for their program to say something like that. It would also mean that I wasn't sitting in the middle of the most gruesome crime known to humanity, that there was some divine or special plan controlling everything, and that despite what I'm witnessing, everything was going to be okay. Cassie momentarily experiences the future, only to return to the present moments before the future she just experienced happens. She's asked to guess the name of the baby. She says we've already been told, but we haven't been told. It's missing. It's maddening. I refuse to believe it. I must have it all wrong. No murderer, no matter how insane, has ever been this obvious about things. It'd be like storing the dead bodies of your victims in the front of the police station. Must be a trap. The only question is, have I already fallen into it? Chaos erupts and destroys the party. There's a fire down at the docks. Cassie's premonitions start again, but this time she tries to stop it before something terrible happens. She pleads desperately to let her drive in an attempt to save his life. He knows she's had a few rough shifts. He tells her it's not a big deal.
Don't let it mess with your head. This is O'Neill. Clear up dockside. Headed.
Well, it's finally time to see the doctor. Cassie's tests look good. Everything is clear. God, what I wouldn't give to have a doctor tell me good news these days. These movies, they take a toll on you. All the sleepless nights, all the funerals, all the paperwork. Homer once said man's fundamental condition was work. That might have been true when real heroes roamed the lands. Now, man's condition is dread. Can feel my heart rate rising. I haven't had health insurance for 10 years. Can't afford it. Got to calm down. Got to focus. It's just what the doctor tells Cassie. She needs to go home. Relax.
Watch old movies.
I'd love to watch an old movie. You know, when they weren't crime scenes. But what I have to watch very carefully is one thing. The apartment. It's big. Bigger than I ever could have imagined. It's even got a fireplace filled with books. But to me, it looks like something's missing. Love. And 5 other roommates that it would take to actually pay for this place. Yeah, something's definitely missing. Ben calls. Turns out Neil's funeral starts in a couple hours. She doesn't want to go, so she doesn't pick up the phone. I've done this so many times in my life. It's the first relatable moment I have with Cassie. Most will think this is just a movie trying to get you to hate Cassie even more. Show how much of a misanthrope she really is. But I know why she really doesn't go. And here's how I know. They try to throw me off. It's their slickest move yet. Cassie is slowly coming upon a horrifying discovery. Like a black dawn, a morning with no sunrise. She can see the future, but she can't change it. Of course, by now, you know what's about to happen next. As she mopes around her urban oasis, she is surprised by a premonition. Pigeon will fly into the window and break its neck. Cassie tries one last time to change the course of history. She opens the window. The pigeon flutters in, no doubt to its inevitable demise. But then, the incredible happens. The pigeon lives. She can change the future. She can save lives. Just when I think I had it all figured out, they pull this. I wonder, can this be saved after all? I wonder, can she save me? There is one scene that could save a movie, make it great. It's the train scene. Perhaps the most legendary scenes of all time are filmed on trains. Strangers on a Train, Murder on the Orient Express, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and of course, Spider-Man 2. However, there's an important and often overlooked scene that often precedes the train scene. It's the desperate search to see which terminals or train cars the hero and villain choose. And these are special for their own reasons. It's the beginning of the cat and mouse chase. The duel, the dance to the death between good and evil. Now, I know I'm dancing with devils, locked in a duel to the death. But I had no idea what these devils had up their sleeve. Cassie crosses paths with a girl from her apartment, the privileged skater girl, and the future OnlyFans star in the train station. She sees a future where a guy kills all 3 girls once they are all on the same train. But she knows these 3 women have a glorious future ahead of them, to fight crime all across the city. She gets to the train where all 3 will be at the same time. She's going to change the future. Wait a second. Change the future. The phrase stops me dead in my tracks. Reveals something. Something I think they wanted me to see all along. But this is the kind of thing I wish I didn't have to see. They want me to see it. See it in all its gruesome glory. I don't really write this note. They've overpowered me. They forced me to write this against my will, against everything I hold dear. I try to close my eyes. I try to resist. I look away. But as I finish, another dreadful clue sits before me. Another piece of the puzzle slowly slides into place. My God. Never, in even the most twisted mind I have ever come across, have I seen something like this take shape. Do we even have names for this kind of horror? As if on cue, the girls all finally arrive. The dub star stalks through the next subway car, closing in on his prey. Cassie shuffles them off and they flee onto the platform. And then I throw up, just a little in my mouth. It's only because of years of experience confronting the worst of humanity that I don't completely empty my stomach and die right here on the spot. These pricks. They're playing dirty as a cheap shot. Ezekiel Sims is barefoot in the New York City subway for absolutely no fucking reason. I'm no rookie. I know how to deal with this. Compartmentalization. This is the type of stuff you see, and just as quickly you bottle it up and take it down to the darkest spot in the basement. And here's a little secret. And you let it sit there. Age. And with time, it becomes nightmare fuel. The stuff that you drink when you can't go on, when all hope is lost, when you need to become the nightmare to fight the nightmare in front of you. Yeah, it's the stuff championships are won with, scientific breakthroughs are discovered with, and criminal masterminds are taken down with. All this I do in the blink of an eye. And I still can't believe they tried this. Tried to trip me up with that kind of dirty trick, but I'm too quick. At least, that's what I thought. Cassie and the girls ditch the dub star, but a dark Spider-Man pursues them on the platform. I can't believe what happens next. Guess I just wasn't fast enough. It was a jab to disguise the haymaker they were about to throw. And they nailed me. What have they done? This is total blasphemy. A psychotic mockery of the train scene chase. They trot through the subway, lazily changing cars a few times out of sheer obligation to the genre as Spider-Man Night Mode pulls away the police. The editing, usually overdosed on Third Reich level methamphetamines, crawls. I get it. I get the message loud and clear. They mock me, laugh at me, taunt me, saying I can't keep up right to my face, saying they will slow this part down for me, make sure I see every last disrespectful, depraved insult of this scene, want to make sure I see how little they care for my life, how powerless I am, how they can do this to me, how they can do this to anyone. It's pure torture. I scream for so long I lose track of time. Was it hours or days? This? I take it personally. I'm going to stop them. That's the last thing I do with a little bit of my miserable life that's left. The gang steals a cab. Yeah, got him on the run.
This is still not a kidnapping, okay?
No, it's a murder. No, it's so much worse than a murder. I don't know what it is yet. It's the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. That's all I can say at this point. Cassie drives upstate to the forest. Gotta get him off the grid. Time to explain to these kids what's going on.
I can see the future. Kind of. Oh, what the hell?
See? She didn't see that coming.
The secret OnlyFans star tells me what I already know.
Just 3 teenagers alone in the woods. Definitely not the opening of a horror film.
By this point, we know it's not a question of whether we are trapped in a horror film or not. The only question is, do any of us have what it takes to still get out alive? Cassie has some simple words of advice. Keeps it simple for these teenagers so they don't get confused.
Just stay here and don't do anything dumb.
But then Cassie does exactly what she told her teens not to do. She does something dumb. She drives back to NYC and pulls the license plate off her cab. I'm going to ignore the existential crisis-inducing, conveniently placed crowbar right where she parked. A rookie would go after that and wind up in the psych ward 4 years later when they found him out in the woods with a loincloth made of being and nothingness covers, a beard down to his belly, and no teeth. If he's lucky, he'll have formed a cult. If they're lucky, they'll have already drunk the poison. Needless to say, it's a trap you learn to avoid. A cab parked down a random alley is suspicious. Like the kind that would have a body in the trunk suspicious. A cab parked down an alley with no license plate is suspicious. Like 9/11 car bomb suspicious. You'd expect either Ezekiel Sims or the police to show up for a major standoff. An incredible escape scene. As a writer, as a director, I'd love to create an incredible escape scene. But these are criminals. They're up to something else. Something diabolical. Cassie sneaks back into her apartment and revisits her mother's research. She reads the traits of the spider people, including the ability to climb a wall. Cassie thinks about the amazing possibilities. The music swells. We're about to see her go Peter Parker 2002, Spider-Man style. Nope, just kidding. I crack a smile. You've got to laugh every now and then. But her research is not all in vain. She finally discovers that the guy stalking them was there with her mother. Back in 1973. Back in the Peruvian rainforest. Back in the forests of upstate New York, the teens have run out of cheap gas station food. They throw the bag on the ground, littering right in front of me. Heartless. What did Mother Earth ever do to you? What I get is worse than gas station food. I get pointless dialogue, verbal litter. They throw it right in my face. I check the clock. Somehow, it's 3 a.m. Does anything good ever happen after 3 a.m.? Here's another thing. Told me it was a thriller. I love thrillers. Right on the back cover, this is what they wrote. Madam Web tells the standalone origin story of one of Marvel Publishing's most enigmatic heroes. The suspense-driven thriller stars Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, a paramedic in Manhattan who may have clairvoyant abilities. And you know a key moment of the thriller genre is the chase through the woods. I know it and the movie knows it. They even had the nerdy supermodel set us up for this kind of thing with a bit of cheeky foreshadowing. 3 girls destined to become scream queens as they run through the woods being chased by a Jason Does Manhattan-style Spider-Man, looking to ruthlessly butcher them all in a single night. This could be incredible. They start out slow. Just some teens trekking through the woods at dusk. No howling wolves. No looking back over the shoulder. No strange twigs snapping in the distance, no one peering at them through the pines. But it's okay. I can feel the suspense beginning to build. I can feel... hold on a second. Suddenly we're at the diner they were talking about. For just a moment I feel relief that they made it there safely, but then I realize something. I'm the one in danger. In fact, what I'm looking at is horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. I'll never be able to sleep again after this. It's almost as if I have a hard time writing this. Dare I even write this kind of thing down? Do I really think I have the proof for something like this? Another even more terrifying question imposes itself upon me. Has anyone ever committed a crime so disgusting before? Has anyone ever gotten away with something this disgusting before? A chump would chalk this up to subverting expectations. We're so far past subverting expectations. I would beg for the subversion of my expectations. This? I've entered a dark satanic temple of transgression. The horrific crimes I'm uncovering in this scene alone are enough to put these people away for hundreds of years. The horrific masterpiece I'm still slowly uncovering will make Jack the Ripper look like a bunny rabbit. The only question is, am I still going to be alive by the end of it all? If there's one setting I love perhaps even more than the train, it's the diner. Some of the best times of my life have been in diners. And Hollywood knows this. They know how important the diner is in the American psyche. I can always count on the diner to serve up some late-night comfort food and good conversation between characters. The teens enter the roadside diner and take a seat at the bar. I'm feeling good about this. Should I be nervous after all that I've been through? After all that I've seen so far? But I'm just too tired. Too weary. There's no denying it. This has been a prolonged journey down this primordial river of sorrow to a terrifying heart of darkness. We all need this break. We need some downtime, me and all these characters. The overworked waitress uncaringly tosses the girls some menus, just like you would expect. I can see the start of a legendary scene developing. Maybe they'll have some fun back and forth with the waitress. Maybe they'll get a nice warm cup of coffee. I love a good late night coffee. Late night coffee goes perfectly with conversation. And these characters need to talk. They need to bond. They had their standoffs in the woods. Now it's time to relax and get to know each other. Really settle in and talk about what they should do next. All over some late night coffee. Maybe even order some pancakes and eggs. The diner. A great place to delve into characters. They get to know each other better and we get to know them better as well. Maybe they will even have some witty repartee with other people in the diner. It's the ultimate setup for dialogue and character exploration. They try a bunch of food. I'm desperate by now. Desperate for something interesting to happen. Desperate for one good line of dialogue. A witty reply. Pun, an exotic pancake order. I'll take anything. Anything to show me this movie isn't just a perversion, isn't one of the most diabolical films ever recorded. But that's just it. It's not a film. It's not a movie. It's... Better not complete that thought just yet. Better not say that out loud. Turn my head as one of the most gruesome scenes from the entire movie unfolds in slow motion before my very eyes. They see the boys' basketball team and decide to go flirt with them. Is this some sort of demented teasing the movie is doing to its audience? Toxic by Britney Spears plays even louder as they dance on the diner table. And that's it. I'll never unsee this. A diner scene, totally massacred. No coffee. No heartwarming bonding. No clever conversation. Few throwaway lines followed by dancing on the table in front of the youth basketball team. This is a true horror, from the darkest heart that ever beat in the primordial night of man. If I wasn't a seasoned veteran of this kind of thing, I'd be crying and calling my wife. I'd tell my partner I can't take this kind of thing anymore and that I was quitting the force. I'd hand my badge and gun in. Hell, I'd just leave it in the police car and walk away into the forest. Maybe I'd make it home. Maybe. Just maybe. Whatever is out there in the darkness would decide to settle the score with me. Take me out that night along with this atrocity. But that's not me. I grit my teeth and keep looking. I won't turn my eyes away. This stare. This stares what separates true detectives from those who just fill lifeless police reports that get lost in the lifeless bureaucracy in whatever sepulchral city they are passing time in. And what do you know? My eye sees something, the background. Out of focus, an even more profound clue. Oh yes, something very, very important. Something I only suspected before. But I was patient. I've caught them. Yeah, that's right. The accomplice. I knew it. No way they could do this kind of thing all on their own, all by oneself. The idiotic dance of the bros gave it all away. Everything. The Dark Spider-Man enters the diner to finally kill them all. He knows the gig is up. He knows what I've found. And so it's time to end things. Until Cassie plows his ass with the yellow cab. She had a vision of him storming the diner and killing her. So she changed it all for the better. But did she get away free, or did this spider get a bite for the road? They flee to one of the most storied places in all of Hollywood cinema. The sleazy roadside motel. The OnlyFans dork notices that her hand is hurting her. Cassie doesn't have time to worry about her hand. She tells them to call their parents or the police. The OnlyFans star says her mom is in the ward and her biological dad doesn't want anything to do with her. The child of privilege says her parents resent her for messing up their path to partner at McKinsey & Bain Consulting. And her neighbor? Well, her dad got deported. They desperately need her help. She ditches him. She finds herself back at the diner, looking for clues, and, well, talking to the Dark Spider-Man. Oh, but this isn't just a chat between hero and villain. I'm on the edge of my seat. This movie is the most dangerous when people are talking. When characters talk in this movie, atrocities happen. The villain decides to. Oh no. I can't believe it. I can't believe this is actually what they are doing. I watch in utter terror. Every sentence is a new depravity. He let Cassie in on a few secrets. In the future, the girls have powers and will kill him. Why does he get to decide who should live and who should die? It's because he has the powers.
Those girls cannot exist.
How come you get to decide?
Because I'm the one with the powers.
As a young detective, I would spend entire nights trying to figure out how one of these kinds of statements was supposed to make sense in the context of another. A lot of good coffee and cigarettes were wasted in these late-night endeavors. These days, I know better. I learned through the harshest of teachers. I learned through experience. I learned how to deal with these face-to-face encounters with depraved maniacs in their work. A lot of new detectives these days think something like this would be created by AI or just sheer human laziness, lack of creativity. But no. Oh no. There is something so much darker at work here. You see, the type of mind capable of conceiving this kind of thing, believing this is normal, that this is how people interact, well, that type of mind also keeps the heads of their foster parents in a freezer and takes them out to talk about their day at work while they eat dinner. You can only experience these atrocities. You can't make sense of them. So when I see a villain decide to explain his motives to the one person that can stop him, I don't lose my mind anymore. But I do ask important questions. Do we all have this perversion, this desire to be understood at all costs? Is there a villain we have ever met in a movie that doesn't tell us his motivations? And do they all come across so crass and simple? Turns out it was just a dream. She never left the motel room. It's time. It's time she showed them something. Something very important. Something to give them an edge on this monster. This man with venom in his fingers whose mouth never matches what he says. The big secret? CPR.
I can't pretend to understand what's going on here.
After this kind of nonsense, they know they have to get out of town. As far away as they possibly can. So they hit me with a travel montage, a white chick holiday, the kind like Joseph Conrad wrote about in 1899. Now, the Peruvian Amazon makes up nearly 60% of Peru itself. Technically speaking, it's 780,000 kilometers squared. I didn't even know you could square kilometers. All this really means is it's so big math doesn't even make sense anymore. It might as well be an entire planet in its own right. She might as well be looking for Mr. Kurtz with no help at all. She's got a map and a photo, which is enough to get her back to the exact location of her mother's campsite some 30 years ago. And here again, my experience with these kind of nut jobs saves my life. Saves me from falling off into an abyss, like I've seen happen to so many that have come before me. Sure, you could ask why she takes a small plane that appears to land in the middle of nowhere, and even more interestingly, that she never gets off the plane. Sure. You could ask how she gets on a bus, and why it also never drops her off at any specific location. You could ask why Ezekiel Sims doesn't follow her back to kill her now that he knows who she is. You could ask how she got to the exact spot of her mother's camp, or why her mother's map had 0 markings, of the trail she followed, or zero indication where her base camp was. And if you manage to ask those questions, and the millions of questions that follow them, the next time you wake up, if you do wake up at all, will be for your next dose of chlorpromazine. And yet, you do actually have to ask these questions because they reveal the devastating, horrific truth of what is really happening in Madam Web. And that truth is, hold on, a spider shaman appears in the jungle, just like he promised all those years ago. He spirit shoves her into the lagoon of visions, and finally, we learn something about that fateful day. Cassie's mother went to the Amazon because her baby was sick. The spider venom had healing properties and saved her child's life. I have to hit stop. Sure, I'm as hard-boiled as they come. All I eat is Scotch whiskey and cigarettes. If a fly bites me, it drops dead. But even I have to stop here and think. I've come so far, but I just don't know if I can make it all the way back. Sitting on the screen in front of me is a noble reminder of someone's deepest love and devotion to do anything, whatever the cost, to save someone they love. But that's not what made me stop. Oh no, it's something so much more sinister. They are making me relive the death of the mother, watching her quivering hand fall short of touching her baby for the first time before passing from this life. It's sick and twisted. If I had gone to one of those important East Coast schools, my PhD thesis would have been on the representation of the web in memory. Throw in the word dialectics and Heidegger for good measure. Make sure I get a publishing deal with a serious university press on the other side. But my education has been at the merciless hands of Jeffrey Dahmer, Kevin Feige, Ted Bundy, Kathleen Kennedy, Zodiac, Bob Iger, and Richard Ramirez. And my thesis for this is, it's a bloody masterpiece that puts all the previous names to shame. No one's going to remember them after this movie. No one. This one? Oh, this one rewrites the history books. Rewrites what is possible to create when you squeeze out the primal fluids that run through human bodies. These new dark arts that they have discovered have ushered in a new standard of horror. Even as I swear to continue, to go for it at all costs, a cold sweat breaks out on my brow. Can I really survive? The shaman speaks. If she masters her power, she can use the web to be in more than one place at the same time. And then with 10 words, they do the unthinkable. With 10 words, they defile 20 years of comic book movie legend. I remember when Uncle Ben told Peter Parker that,
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
It rang out through the theater that night. That night, on May 3rd, 2002, the entire world had a new phrase and a new sense of belonging to each other. These 6 words echo throughout history. Will they ever echo again with the clarity, the nobility, and the hopefulness of May 3rd, 2002? I just don't even know if I should show you this kind of thing. It's too disturbing. With a mere 10 words, the world becomes darker, more perverse than ever. You might have been wondering why your life hasn't been so great recently. Well, this is why. Because this kind of darkness was unleashed on the world. Don't watch this on a full stomach. Something I learned a long time ago. You go to a crime scene like this with a belly full of diner food, it's all coming back up. That's why on these kind of nights, you only see me with coffee and cigarettes. It suppresses the appetite and keeps me focused, so I can function through the pain. Here we go. Even as the shaman speaks, it's as though it's from a deceitful flow from the heart of an impenetrable darkness.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
I scream. I scream and scream and scream. Someone else's scream tears me away from this stupendous moment. The girls are watching a horror movie. The mother's water breaks, so Uncle Ben must rush her to the hospital. Peter Parker is on the way. Now, I've seen some twisted and gruesome things in my line of work. Things you just can't talk about. Basically everything these fictional detectives in Seven encounter I see before my eyes every night, with every gleaming DVD I slide into the player. But here again, this movie has invented something so devastating, so contrary to the laws of human decency, that it makes all the horrors that came before it seem like a peaceful stroll among lilacs and lilies. Buried in the psychotic editing and change of scene is one of the most disturbing things I've seen in this entire film. Actually, it's the most psychotic thing I've seen in the entire superhero genre. The scream, the baby's birth, Peter Parker's birth, is heralded by a scream from a horror movie. That means they are saying Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, is a monster, something evil, something to be killed. I'm as hard as they come, but even I'm terrified of saying what I know I must say next. This baby is a monster. They want to kill the baby, in the womb if possible. These are some sick fucks. As I'm reeling from the desecration, they try and pull a fast one on me. Suddenly, Cassie's back in New York, and just as suddenly, I'm back on the case. It's a major clue, another string in their wicked web, perhaps even the final one to tie it all together, to trap them in the web of their own lies. Cassie steals the ambulance and careens through the streets, desperately trying to catch up to the girls. Hope that EMT crew weren't going to respond to any calls for the rest of the night. In the car, things have gotten tense.
I'm not sticking around if it gets gross.
I stick around when it gets gross, real gross. And this late at night, I guarantee it's going to get gross. But for a moment, just a moment, something beautiful happens. They drive down the street past the liquor store. The lighting is sublime. Am I the only one who is comforted by the neon lights of a liquor store? Snap out of it. I know something wicked this way comes, but then the unexpected happens. This time in a good way. A second stunning shot. Truly sublime. The dark mode Spider-Man runs along the side of the glass skyscraper at night, reflecting all the lights from the other buildings, like he's running across 1,000 galaxies of the Spiderverse. It's an incredible shot. Truly mesmerizing. I could get lost in this shot. I could stare at it forever and ever. I've always found this so perplexing. These works of pure hatred, shot through and through with resentment, anger, envy, anguish. Somehow, in all of them, against all odds, beauty always manages to find a way to poke through, to survive. Tonight that beauty has revealed something extra special for me. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, I rush to write it all down as dark mode Spider-Man's IT girl hacks the traffic lights, forcing a showdown at the intersection.
What is that?
Cassie pegs Ezekiel Sims with her gigantic ambulance from behind and sends his bug ass bouncing.
I liked it better when you didn't make plans.
Ben calls out to her as she drives away with the girls in the ambulance. Sims pursues them only to get zapped.
You're showing off.
They're bragging again. They're laughing in my face. You expected a clever scene to thwart a monster packed with emotion and adrenaline that you can't get from pills no matter how expensive they are. We gave you an abomination, zapping a guy off the roof of an ambulance with medical equipment. They taunt me. They think they threw me off the entire movie. They think I can't handle it anymore.
It's gonna get a little crazy.
If this movie tells me it's about to get nuts, I take them very, very seriously. They think they can throw me off? Not possible. I'm strapped the fuck in. The finale is set. They must lure Spider-Man Dark Mode into the death trap of the building full of explosives. In one last desperate attempt to scare me off, the characters start talking again.
Yeah, and we won't be impulsive.
I keep pushing forward. I know it's almost over, and after what I've heard, this is nothing. With a few more butchered lines. It's like seeing a few scattered arms and limbs in a garage freezer after you've already been down in the basement torture chamber. Sims chases them through the factory as they light the fireworks. The building explodes and the emotionless Madam Web instructs her teen companions to different points of the roof to keep them safe. They'll make their escape by helicopter, and then Cassie and Ezekiel can sort out their problems, spider to spider. But here's the problem. Ezekiel has other plans. He punches a firework into the helicopter and destroys it. I laugh into the void. You want to get nuts? Yeah, let's get nuts. Ezekiel loses it. His mask, that is. He tears it off as he chokes Cassie. He wants this bitch to know how much he hates her. Wants to look into her eyes as he chokes her to death. And as far as this film goes, this is the tamest thing I've seen so far. It's almost relaxing, unlike me. Cassie's terrified. All three of the little spiders are within a threat of losing their lives. The Amazonian spider shaman's words echo in her mind, themselves a dark and perverse echo from earlier.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
They're getting desperate, throwing something like this at me again, regurgitating these old horrors, hoping to scare me away. But I've toughened up. This almost makes me laugh. I'm closing in on them now.
You can't save all three!
They can't even save themselves. She uses the power of the spider spirit to be in multiple places at once, whisking her fellow insect sisters to safety. She lures him up higher, where he suddenly becomes one of the clumsiest Spider-Men in the Spiderverse. The bridge behind the sign collapses, and he falls to the ground. Somehow, he survives, only to be crushed by the giant letter from the Pepsi sign. It's a dirty way to take him out. Might as well have just spit on his pathetic carcass. In the end, he was just another expendable henchman for these evil overlords. Imagine, down in hell, when he's asked how they got him, he's got to say, well, fell off the roof of a building and then a giant letter cracked my head open. No one's going to take him seriously in the eternal pits of doom after that. Cassie falls into the water and burning debris hits her in the eyes, searing them out instantly. The shy spider pulls her from the water. She's not breathing. They bring her back to life with their CPR training. A young me would think, see, here's a moment of redemption, of a story showing us all that things do happen for a reason, that there is a beautiful purpose to the universe, that life is worth living. God, I wish I could be young again. I'd give anything to return those bright days when anything was still possible. Now all I can do is stand over this monster as it slowly passes to oblivion. Cassie wakes up in the hospital. We are told a baby is born. It's Peter Parker. We are also told Ben says he gets the best part of being an uncle. All the fun and none of the responsibility. Cassie knows better. The manic editing rushes us forward. It knows it doesn't have much longer to live. Cassie is in a wheelchair and blinded, but she sees more clearly now than ever before. She knows the girls will go on to fight crime around the city. Right now, they're just enjoying some takeout. I begin to relax as the movie slowly begins to expire. It seems like its passing will be on a soft note. Thank God. I don't think I could endure these horrors any longer. Its reign of terror is finally at an end. A spree of gruesome crimes that tore the world apart, changed it forever, made everyone darker in its wake. I always wonder where these things go after death. Do they really go to hell? They seem too evil, even for Satan to watch over. Satan was a fallen angel, a bit of good still left in him, but this? Well, this was evil through and through. They didn't want to change the world for the better. They just wanted to commit senseless acts of violence for eternity. And just when I thought it was all over, just when I thought the horrors had ceased, it unleashes its grand finale of desecrations. Even in the closing seconds, this movie wasn't ready to give up. No. Listen closely to its final words. With its final breath, it utters one last defilement, commits one more horrendous crime as it lays dying.
Whatever the future holds, we'll be ready.
It gasps.
And you know the best thing about the future?
A final, dreadful pause.
It hasn't happened yet.
The movie ends. I can barely breathe. The horror. The horror. These crimes. The crimes are everywhere. And this last statement, the most arrogant and disturbing of all, spoken with pregnant profundity, but absolutely empty, absolutely worthless. Cassie's final words seem to lead into the heart of an immense darkness. And now it's time to pin it all on him. You think The Watchmen subverted the superhero genre? You think The Boys was a clear-eyed, merciless dissection of comic books? You think Sin City was a gruesome dive into just how dark and depraved the genre could go? Well, Madam Web makes them all look like fairy tales. Sony Pictures has unleashed the shitcoin, meme coin mentality into movie making, and it's working. They will no longer make movies to delight and entertain. They will launch content and rug the audience. They became a meme on the internet. There's no telling how much money they made, but you can be damn sure it was a lot of it. Madam Web wasn't a movie. Will anyone understand the importance of this line? It was literally the edits of a movie. It was only the edits. The movie was removed. They actually took the entire movie out of the movie and sold it to consumers as a series of badly taped together edits. Do you get what I'm saying? Madam Web is a movie where they cut out the movie, left in all the random edits that would have otherwise been removed. In the opening shot, I already knew exactly what they were guilty of. I just couldn't believe it. They removed the spider from the web. They removed Spider-Man from Spider-Man. The arrogance. They took the movie out of the movie. They rugged the entire world. There were countless other omissions where a movie would have taken place. For example, the fortune cookie with no fortune on it. Hell, they were so committed to this new level of violence that they even removed the scenes they filmed of Uncle Ben and Cassie boinking in the ambulance. They removed Uncle Ben's heroics. Uncle Ben, the EMT saving her life, leaping off the bridge into the water, pulling her from the sinking car back up to the surface. No, they deleted that. Then there's the missing mention of the baby's name. It's Peter Parker, but they don't say it. That would have been part of a real movie, not a meme. Cassie avoids a funeral. She doesn't go because something interesting could have happened there. A movie could have happened there. Interactions with characters. Grim observations on life and death and friendship and maybe even an attack. But no, they didn't show us because that would be part of a movie, a real movie. So they deleted it. If you could still be in doubt, they literally deleted the hero's journey. Cassie actually traveling through the dangers and wonders of the Amazon to find her mother's old camp. That's an entire movie unto itself. It's literally the focus of almost every Indiana Jones movie. But they were thorough, weren't they? They deleted another journey. Hell, they deleted nearly a whole life. Cassie as a child, getting to NYC and living in NYC. Again, that's an entire movie unto itself. And perhaps my favorite of all, the man whose mouth doesn't match what it says. Because they took it all out, they removed an entire movie from one man's mouth. Do you get it? Do you really think you can go to the movie theater anymore? After this? Here's the cold hard truth. Movies are dying. Every studio knows it. And so they had to do something. They had to change the future. Just like Cassie. You see, they thought they were saving the pigeon flying through the window, but they're just breaking its neck in a different way. But to a twisted bunch like this, that's saving the movie. And here's the real cold hard truth. This isn't even a movie. Not even close. It's a message. A harbinger of doom. Unlike others who would laugh and scoff at this, ridicule it, I listen. Oh yes. I listen to the message. A lie. And that's even a very special kind of lie. It should read, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. It's a message I clearly didn't heed. At least one version of me didn't anyways, but I know this now. Madam Web was so bad it tore a hole in the very fabric of the universe. And they knew it. The description even says it. It says, meanwhile, in another universe. Another universe? I don't know what universe I'm in. I don't even think I'm in a universe anymore. I'm in a Memeverse. And I'd kill to get out of here.